The Haryana government has decided to introduce board exams for class students of classes 5 and 8, not only in its own schools, but also private ones, irrespective of the board to which they're affiliated from this academic session. This decision has, of course, sparked a controversy among private schools in the state affiliated to CBSE and CISC boards. Associations of private school management have also opposed the move. There's also been a plea in the courts, and in fact, the High Court has been approached. However, for the moment, the first hearing, which took place on February 10th, the court has reserved its decision on the matter until the next hearing on the 4th of April. Let's go across and speak to some of the teachers as well as parents regarding this. We're joined by Anil Kumar, Principal, DPS Faridabad, Anubha Srivastav, President, India White Parents Association, and Rachna Dikshit, the parent of an Class 8 student. Sir, Anil Kumar, I'd like to ask you first, what are your comments on this, the Haryana government bringing in boards for Class 5 and 8?
Honestly speaking, first of all, good afternoon to everyone. The fact of the matter is that there seems to be some ambiguity in the gadget notification itself. That is one primary thing I feel per se, because the gadget notification reads that government schools and the recognized private schools of Haryana. Now, does it mean all or does it not mean all? It's ambiguous. So, first people have to understand that what is the outcome on the basis of that. If it is all, then yes, this controversy is very much in. If it is not, then obviously they can actually bypass this and can say, okay, it's fine.
It is. If students of class 5 and 8 have to take board exams, I mean, what would you say to that?
For that, I'll definitely say that one single entity cannot be affiliated to two units, particularly when this education is a concurrent subject, both for the state as well as the center. And if I have adopted center, then obviously state do not have a right to dictate terms on that. Or if I adopt state, then the center cannot dictate terms to the state. So it has to be to the choice of the school, which must be permitted. Here, in that case, obviously this is going to blow a bit more in that case, in that regard.
The Haryana government's reasoning is that this will bring kids, up to the mark. They'll study more. They'll, do a board in class 5, a board in class 8, and this will make them study a lot more. Anubha Srivastav, your reaction to this?
See, am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
See, I am very surprised actually as far as Right to Education Act is concerned. There was an amendment in 2019 where the state governments have been empowered to change the act and implement in their own states that there will be no detention policy. So I think Haryana government and Delhi government has implemented that. But as far as the boards are concerned, see, CBSE board, ICSE board, they all are international boards. CBSE, CBSE has schools in more than 28 countries. Are those countries also going to impose their rules on CBSE? No, they cannot. Similarly, even Haryana government cannot impose any kind of restriction or rules and regulation on these CBSE and other private schools which are affiliated to ICSE IB boards, because all these private schools, there's a judgment also by TMFI that as far as the administration is concerned, it is up to the schools to take a call. And as far as the boards are concerned, there's a judgment even from the Honorable Supreme Court that the boards are autonomous. As far as state board is concerned, yes, government can definitely bring such kind of guidelines in respect of the state boards. But regarding central board, CBSE board, ICSE board, international boards, they cannot just dictate their own terms that, yes, you have to follow state board syllabus. Even last year in Maharashtra, when the Maharashtra government came up with one entrance exam for 11th standard students, and the syllabus was as per the state board, the matter went to High Court and the exam was challenged and it was scrapped. So state boards cannot dictate their own terms on each and everything on the administration of the schools. As far as boards are concerned, they have to direct the boards, not the state, not the schools. They have to direct CBSE, they have to direct ICSE that you have to implement all these states board syllabus in your particular this state. They cannot dictate terms on all the private schools. As far as the CBSE and other boards are concerned, in Maharashtra now what they are doing, they are converting the BM schools, many municipality schools, they are converting into CBSE board, ICSE board, Cambridge board. That can happen. Government can, as far as the government schools are concerned in Haryana or anywhere you go, look at the condition of the education or the quality of the education in those government schools. So it is the responsibility of the government to improve the quality of education in those government schools. They can convert them into CBSE. They can convert them into board, but they cannot.
Perhaps it's not by, imposing board exams in this manner. And Rachna Dikshit, please come in here, because this has been a very distressing time for parents, for students. They're just about back in the classrooms, and, you want things to normalize, students and teachers all, to get back into the rhythm of regular school. But now to distress them with news of a possible board exam in class 5 and 8.
It's actually completely irrational and unacceptable. Like you very rightly said, the past 2 years have been very, very stressful for our students. On terms of having to adapt at every stage, from a classroom learning to go online and thereafter do examinations. It's 2 full years, it's unheard of. It's been intensely traumatic for children the most, for the teachers, for schools, for parents. Now, at this point, at the end of an academic year, to introduce a complete horror situation like a board exam in April on a completely new board is actually traumatizing them further. We actually have to be concentrating on getting our children back into normalcy, into giving them easing them back into a situation which, frankly, a lot of them have forgotten what it's like. So this is a terribly under-thought out decision, and it should be fought at every level and countered, and it basically has to be stopped. Also, what is this about constantly evaluating and examining children at every stage in their lives and making it almost punitive if they don't do well? Class 8, class 5, learning should be made more acceptable, more fun for them. This is a very, very poorly thought out, irrational decision, and it should be countered by everybody as one voice.
Right. I think the real shock was when the High Court has now held off its decision till April. And Anil Kumar, so if it is implemented, if indeed it is for all private schools as well, what does this mean? This means in April you'll have students of class 5 and class 8 actually facing board exams. One imagines it's not going to happen. We'll have to wait and see. And since there's been such opposition, I believe, from the boards as well, from ICSE, CBSE boards, but this essentially means that these students would have to take a board exam in April?
No, actually speaking, this is fundamentally flawed. As I say, whenever there is a concurrent subject, the supremacy of each has to be actually respected too. So I'm very confident on the fact that when the courts are going to hear it at length, they are going to strike it off. If Haryana state government says that all schools have to be of Haryana, affiliated with Haryana board only, then only they can do that. If there are schools which are affiliated to other boards, wherein the liberty is already available through center, they cannot do that. However, if it is being enforced like that, obviously it's going to be a really tough thing, which is not so simple. Rather, it should not be done at all in the first place. Right. Because we cannot stress children at this particular time.
Right. Really, I'd like you to talk a bit about that, as I was asking Rachna Dikshit, that, this is a time when we need to help the children all we can, because they're just coming back to the classroom. Schools as well, getting back into, having regular classes, also keeping in mind the fears of COVID. Let's face it, it's not gone away. So, all that is also there. So, given that, Mr. Anil Kumar, this is unnecessarily stress on the teachers and the students.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is psychological as well as both pedagogically. Looking at pedagogically, psychologically, and in terms of the present situation, it is definitely out of question to talk on those lines. Today is a day when we should try and promote children to be happy, to fill their learning gaps, rather to check their the ability at this stage. I am a pass out from Haryana board myself. And honestly speaking, I appeared for a board in 5th standard long back and 8th standard long back and 10th standard long back. But that does not mean, because at that point in time, CBSE was not very, taking over so many schools in the various states. Today, across globe, CBSE exists. Therefore, you cannot, by way of whims and fancies, can bring in something which can be so tormenting for children, particularly post-pandemic. This is definitely not a time to talk on these
unnecessary stress and uncertainty. Thank you so much, Anil Kumar, Rachna and Anubha, for joining us on the program and talking about this issue. And hopefully it's not going to happen, I know, but as I said, unnecessary stress by bringing in this possibility of a board exam in class 5 and class 8. Thank you.